Good night, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of Lewwe Chat. We are live, and I have with me Trey, Jodine, Rolene, a new face actually, and Janielle. Guys, how y'all doing tonight? Everybody good?
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good, good.
I'm all
That
right.
sounds so. Yeah. What is that? What is that? Come
I'm
on.
fantastic.
I'm fantastic.
We want you to be truthful, so it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for joining. All of us who have logged on so far, thank you for joining as we get into this discussion. Mind your wallet. Yeah.
Mhm.
And tonight we have a special guest with us, Mr. Ian Blanchard. Gonna welcome Ian to the stream now. Ian, good night. How are you doing?
I am great, man. I'm great. Good to be with you guys. My pleasure. I am well.
Good, good, good. Thank you. Right. So tonight we're actually going to be getting in more into the financial impact of COVID-19. Because we know it had a huge impact on the world, society, families, and individuals. Yeah. Because there was a lot of job loss,
Mhm.
and people that would have started businesses, the business collapse, but they get time to catch themselves, they get time
Mhm.
to save properly or invest properly. So we're going to talk about a little bit about the financial impact of COVID-19. Yeah. So, Ian,
Mhm.
before we jump into the discussion, you can tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do as a business and executive coach.
Cool.
So my background is initially engineering. So I started in engineering at Cable Wireless, going back a number of years ago. I spent over 25 years at Cable Wireless. I have worked in the US, the UK, the region, the Middle East, in a number of roles. I have done business development, I've done marketing, I've done sales. And I was in the Middle East I spent 2.5 years in the Arab Republic of Yemen, working for Cable and Wireless. Then I came back to Barbados and spent a year looking at business development. Then ran the Cable and Wireless business in Dominica for 2 years, and then the Cable and Wireless business in Grenada for 4 years. And then came to Barbados to run the Cable and Wireless transformation, where we were looking to transform 13 business units into one Caribbean business. And then I left Cable Wireless and started the Caribbean Institute of Leadership and Coaching in 2010. And to be honest, it's been a fascinating ride. So for me, I am the husband of one wife. I've been married to my wife Anne Marie for 30 years. And we have two beautiful gifts, Ayana and Michael. Ayana is 26 this year, and she's a medical doctor working in the US at the moment. And Michael is 13. And for me, my philosophy on life, or my vision for my life, is that when I leave here, the people here must be better off for me having been here. So it's about adding value to others, and it's about helping people to move from potential to performance. So that's kind of summary of who I am.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And I love that you mentioned potential to performance. That's actually very profound, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right now we're actually going to go through the poll that we had. So we asked three questions, and our first question was, "Have you been impacted financially by COVID-19?" No.
Mhm.
83.3% of people said yes, and
Mhm.
16% said no, 16.7%. So as you can see, obviously a lot of people have been impacted by
Mm.
COVID-19 financially.
Mhm.
And the percentage that said no, a lot of those persons had make it clear to me that that they were not working first of all, that they were either
Oh.
students or just unemployed before COVID, so they would not have any significant financial impact. But the persons who did were persons who were working and had jobs, so we know for sure that there's been a tremendous financial impact. Our second question was, are you a business owner or aspiring entrepreneur? Again, the majority of people said yes. 76% people said yes. 24% said no. And it's good that we actually have a lot of entrepreneurs and business-minded,
Mm.
especially young people in Barbados today. Like I see that as a very good thing. To
Mhm.
boost the economy and seeing all the new ideas coming to life. But the
Mhm.
thing is,
Yeah.
the consistency is what we need, especially now, right?
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So our third question was, would you say that you spend and invest your money wisely? And as we can see, 52% people said yes, and 3% said no. I mean, it was good that people were truthful. So a lot of people said yes. Some people said no. So we know for sure that something that we struggle with as a community is buying things that we don't necessarily need.
Attacks.
Buying things that we don't necessarily need, and that most of the time is what has that impact on our wallets. I mean, check our wallets and like, where my money went? Like, I can't believe my money gone. Like, I just get this money this year gone, right? So, when we look back, we want to see that our wallet's still full, that the money that we had last week has duplicated or tripled, right? So how do we ensure that we are on that correct path, Ian?
So the first, you guys spoke about mental health last week, right?
Yeah.
And our minds control our lives.
True.
Everything we do and everything we say is driven by a belief. It's driven by a perspective. It's driven by the way we look at life, the way we look at things. So if we think about how do we manage money, it starts with our association with money. It starts with our perspective of money. It starts with how we see money and how we see ourselves in relation to money. So the first thing that I would say is you need to understand your relationship with money. Now, your relationship with money started with your parents. Your parents and the conversations you heard your parents having started with your parents. And the way that your parents dealt with and spoke about money is what has cultivated and created your perspective on money. Now, what we have about money is not just in our what I call our conscious mind. It's sunk down into our hearts, into our subconscious mind, and we don't recognize some of it. But what happens is that we see our behavior, or the behavior that emanates out of us, is a reflection of our perspective on money. So let's first look at what's your financial plan? Do you have a financial plan? We have plans to travel, we have plans to go to work, we have plans to, but what's our financial plan? What are you trying to ultimately achieve financially? You need to be clear in your mind, because if you're not clear on destination, then you're going to struggle with direction. So financially, if you're not clear where you're trying to get to financially, then you are going to struggle with the direction you take in terms of your money. So clarity around where you're trying to get financially will help you decide the decisions you make in terms of the direction with your money. So for example, for me, in the financial independence relates to being able to hand my children each a property that is debt-free. So they have a base for them to live, a base for them to function from. So because that's my destination, I want to ensure that I am leaving something in them to help them manage what's for them. And then I know I need to prepare myself and delay gratification. Because what happens a lot of times is that we are so caught up in what we want to do today, we fail to make the right decisions about money in relation to the benefits tomorrow. So it starts with clarity in our minds about our relationship with money, clarity in our minds in terms of destination, and clarity around the direction we should take to get us to that destination.
Thank you, Ian. And I like when you mentioned we usually think a lot about what we need today, we need to do tomorrow, but yet suddenly think about what our future would look like if we keep continuing in this pattern, right?
Correct.
And that's something that I myself struggled with when I first got a job. To think about I can go and buy this food now, like go to this restaurant this weekend, and all your money burned next week, kind of thing, right? So you already think about what your future would look like financially, and more so
Yes.
focusing on what is right in front of you. You go in a new store, this will find you mean you must go in this store, see what's there, and yeah.
I think my excuse would be I need to take care of myself, so I'm going to spoil myself. So I'm going to spoil myself now because I deserve it. Why I deserve it, I have no idea, but I deserve it.
I actually wanted
Honestly,
to.
Jodine, I kind of share similar. Go ahead, Trey.
Oh yeah, I think my feed is delayed a bit. Sorry about that. But I want to ask Ian, well, two questions. One is off of what Jadine was just saying, because I was on a van coming home a day, and the conductor on the van, she was having this kind of discussion with a person, and she was saying, at the end of the day, you work hard for your money, so you should enjoy your money. So based on what you just said, how would you respond to that?
So you work hard for your money,
Mm-hmm.
and you should enjoy your money. So I am with you completely.
Mm-hmm.
But my big question to you is, do you want to enjoy today and struggle tomorrow, or do you want to live reasonably comfortable today and even more comfortable tomorrow? It's really about, no one is saying that. You see, when we think about budgeting and money, we are automatically concluding that we need to be miserable today. We're drawing a conclusion that we need to be miserable today.
Yeah,
The issue is not being miserable today. The issue is that we function today with a view on tomorrow. So I enjoy what I do today. This is not an issue of not smelling the roses and enjoying the process. We travel. We were in the US for Christmas. So we understand what we want to do today, but we have an eye on the future. Because you don't want to have a blast for the first 10 years of your life and then have the last 30, 40 years of your life where you're miserable. So it's really about changing the perspective in our minds that when we say we want to budget and we want to live for the future, that we're not enjoying today.
Well, thank you. Okay. Yeah, that does make
That
sense.
is definitely.
Yeah, go ahead.
Definitely something for. I have had to cultivate that particular idea of treating myself, because that's not my first mode of dealing with money. My first mode was always, I need to save this because in XYZ, I have this plan, I have that plan, whatever the case is. But what I have learned is that it's not just about putting down the money and saving it, but it's how the money is saved, which is another question I would ask later on. But I want to go back to something you said earlier about delayed gratification. And I find that it is something that is not often spoken about. It is something that people don't usually consider, and many times, instead of delaying the gratification and waiting for something to happen, people then find themselves getting a loan because they need something now. So let me go and get a loan now and then just afterwards and pay for the loan, and for other reasons to get loans. But we found that during COVID last year especially, many people were caught off guard because they had bills, they had loans to pay. There were some people with mortgages, many people with rent, and I'm getting older. I was quite happy that I didn't decide to go and rent last year, because I think that I would have been caught so off, because I too wanted to live on my own and live freely as a 20-something year old and all those things. But I had to delay that gratification last year because it would not have been wise to go and start renting. So many people found themselves in even more debt this year than they were in last year because they either lost their job or they may have been out of work for a few months because of lockdown. And they now have to figure out how to start over. Where do I start from here? So my question to you is, where do people like this, where do people like in this category who may have had to defer a loan last year or defer a mortgage, how do they restart, or how do they start the journey back to financial stability?
So the first step is to assess where you are. You want to take the time and have a realistic picture of your current status. So you want to figure out what's coming in and what's going out. Look at all your debts. So each of your debts, you look at your interest rate on that debt. You look at the time frame to pay back to repay that debt, and then you look at income. Now you need to then decide, because you probably are going to have outstanding amounts on those debts, whether it's your mortgage, whether it's your rent. So you have to create a plan in place to be able to mitigate that. And the first step is to have a conversation with your creditors. You never want people to be chasing you down for money. You want to go in and have the conversation and be clear about where you are at. Now, you are going to take a little bit of a beating over that, right? Because people are not going to sometimes want you to pay less than what you owe. But you have to be clear in your mind. So let's say you have $1,000. I'm just going to break it up in $1,000. You owe one person $5, you need $2 to live, you owe another person $3, you owe another person $1, you owe another person $2. If you calculate that, you are about $1,200 compared to $1,000. So it's not possible to do that. So what you do, you go to the person that you owe $500 and you say, right now I cannot pay you $500, I'm going to pay you $3. And they're going to tell you, no, you must pay $5. You say, I can't. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pay you $3. Every month you're going to see me and I'm going to pay you $3. They're going to disagree. They're going to tell you that you can't, but make a commitment and stick to it. Do the same thing. You've got to put up with the pressure of the calls. You've got to put up with the pressure of you have to deal with that. But if you try to pay everything, you're going to get frustrated, or you're going to have people chasing you down. So when they call you again, you say, ma'am, I spoke to you and I explained to you, I sent you an email or a letter and I told you I will pay you, but I can only pay you $300 a month. I've been very honest with you. That's what I see is going to happen for the next 12 months. So that's where I'm at. When you do that, eventually they will stop calling you because you're paying every single month because you made a commitment and you're sticking to it. You also want to take a percentage of your income and put it aside and begin to build a rainy day fund, even if you have debt. I'll tell you why. If every time you need $2 or $10 or $15, you got to be scratching your head and struggling to find that money, you are mentally going to struggle and you cannot be at your best. But don't do that without having a conversation with your creditors. You have to be prepared to take the flak, but be honest, be upfront, be firm, and be diligent in making payments while you build yourself out of that criteria. That's one way to look at it from the cost side. From the income side, you have to ask yourself, what else do you have? What else can you do to increase your income? Because just keeping the $1,000 coming in and having that debt, you're going to struggle for a much longer period than if you find a potential income source, now legitimate of course, and
Right.
get yourself involved in being active.
Let's do
And
this.
listen, people, we have to understand that each one of us have gifts. We have to understand that money is not always the answer. Don't get me wrong, money answer of all things, but if we understand that I can barter for services. So if I have a breadfruit tree, I can give someone breadfruit and they give me yams. They have chickens, they give me chickens, I give them. You can barter, right?
Mhm.
Which means that instead of spending money for stuff, you actually get it for the in a trade off for something else.
Mhm.
So if you have a little plot of land, you can start planting something so you can not have to spend as much money. You see, coming back to mental health, if we are frustrated and negative, we're not going to get creative.
Mm.
If we are burdened, we're not going to get creative. So we have to say, how do I, one, manage the current expense base that I have while putting something small aside to build a reserve fund or a rainy day fund, while I look at income generating opportunities to be able to supplement and to increase and to reduce my debt over that period of time. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. I just want to highlight a question here from one of our viewers. Good night.
Mostly.
Yeah, so Roy Dan Lewis is asking, what are your thoughts on the saying tomorrow will provide for itself?
Our Jah will provide.
Jah will provide.
Uh-huh.
That is erroneous thinking.
Okay.
I think it's irresponsible. I want you to think about it this way, right?
Mhm.
If we say that tomorrow provide for itself, I'm going to eat, live, and drink and be happy. It's really irresponsible. I mean, just the thought of it is irresponsible in my view, right?
Yeah.
Because look, if you have no one that is relying on you, you have no one that you're responsible for, and you
Right.
want to live your life that way, my view, knock yourself out.
Mhm.
However, you will pay for it. Now, you may not pay
All
for it
right.
in the first 10 years, in the first 15 years, but you will if you live that long.
Mhm.
So for me, it is, I have a responsibility when I went to my wife's parents and said I wanted to marry their daughter, to look after her and the offspring I brought into the earth, right?
Uh-huh.
So it is irresponsible of me to just think about today without thinking about what will happen to them tomorrow.
It's true.
I have a responsibility. My kids didn't ask me to bring them into the world.
Mm.
So I have a responsibility to make sure I leave enough in them
Right.
that they will protect and multiply what I leave for them. And I want to make sure that should something happen to me, that my wife is not in a place where she's wondering what's going to happen to her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
Agreed.
And
Yeah.
I agree with what you were explaining before. It's always good to, if you have debt, to confront, who you're in debt to, because our mindset might be, just hoping your person forget that you owe them, but that's not the path to go, right?
No.
But you should always be upfront, especially in those situations. If you owe somebody anything, arrange and be upfront. Let them know how much you can give. Once you're consistent with that giving, though, I think that's the most important thing there. To be consistent,
Um,
sure that you pay back that debt.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
Janielle, say something.
have a philosophy that I would like Mr. Ian's opinion on, right? So
Mm,
before, I used to be very liberal with money. When I was like in secondary school, I used to be like, cash, woo, let's just get it. But then as I was getting older, I was like, okay, well, there are certain things that I would like to save towards. So my philosophy now is that I make a visual list of my wants and my needs, and then I look at how my wants can feed into my needs. So if I feel like I need some sort of community or mental health support, then I look at my wants. And if I have there, like dinner with friends or something, I'm like, okay, this is a want that feeds that need. So I can spend on that. If I see
Nice.
that I want a new handbag and for work, I need a handbag, I'm like, okay, well, this is a want that feeds a need. So I spend on that. And I mean, it works for me because I find that I only spend on things that I need, but because they're also feeding my wants, then I don't feel the need to go crazy on other things that I would just otherwise buy for no reason. So I would like your opinion on my philosophy. If you think, I'll live a happy 15 years and then be homeless later down, just let me know.
So I think so. If you think about it, Janielle, it's to create I'd like to use percentages, right? I like to use percentages. So if I say, then I have my income, I'm going to live on X percent. So let's use some figures. So I say, look, I take 10%, I put it aside. I believe in tithing, so I put 10% for tithe. I take 10% and I put aside, and I put 10% and I put for my development, right? So, and then I have, that's 10, 10, 10. And then I have 60, 70% to be able to function, right? So, because here's the thing I want you to remember as well. The amount of money you make is directly related to your ability to add value. I want to repeat that. The money you make is directly related to your ability to add value. So I say to people, do not chase money because money will elude you. If you learn to add value to others, money will come to you.
Okay.
No, because the reality is that when your $1 million show up, it's not going to show up in the sky or just show up in your bank account. It's going to show up in somebody else's bank account, in somebody else's wallet. And you have to give them equal or more value in exchange for the money that they're going to give you. So the more value you learn to add is the more money you're going to get in return. So if I come back to your wants and your needs, once you have a clear allocation for savings, for investments, for development, right? And you do that consistently over time, and you invest what you put aside correctly, you'll be fine. But you gotta put it aside. You gotta put it aside consistently in spite of how much you make.
Yeah.
So I said to my daughter, I said 10% goes, if you take 10% of your income, invested at 4 or 5% over 20, 30 years, by the time you get to, and again, I mean, I'm obviously at certain salary levels. By the time you get to be 50 years old, you probably have in excess of $1 million. If you think about it, if you think about compound interest on 10% of your income from the time you start working, over time, consistently, as you get salary raises, you keep adding to that, and you get 5-6% compound interest on that money. If when you get to 45, 50 years old, you will probably have close to $1 million, if not $1 million.
True. Yep. And just want to highlight another question from
Very true. Very true. And that is.
Sorry, you can go ahead, Rolene.
Yeah, I think we got a little glitch.
Probably having a little delay.
Oh, right. I was going to that. That is what I was referring to. That it is. I had to learn that just putting down the money on the bank is not equivalent to saving. I had to learn how to save, and how to do it in a responsible, in a or intentional way, so that over time my money is growing and working, even though I'm saving it. So it's not just being put down on the side, as the old people like to do, put it on the bed. It is something for me. I am putting that particular percentage aside. So I that's something that I learned as I am growing as an adult, as a professional, learning how to save as opposed to just putting the money aside.
It's true. Yeah. Thanks, Rylene. Just want to highlight this question from Roy. He's saying, if I have a day-to-day job, but also have side business, your side business is picks up and making a lot more than your job, and your job is getting in the way of your business, what do you do? That question was still the end.
So right then, when you get to that point, you should be able to make a transition to your business. My only caution would be, let me respond in this way, right? If you were an employee that was slacking off on your job to do your business, then you have to question your work ethic when you go onto your business on its own, right? So you see, sometimes we want to be bad employees, but expect to be good business owners. There's a problem here. You see, we expect to, because you see, in being a bad employee, we are cultivating a behavior and a lifestyle. And then we think that we can just transition to our business and suddenly that behavior and lifestyle is going to change. No, it's not.
Okay.
So you want to think about, so for example, I have had businesses while I've been working for Cable Wireless. But when I'm at work, I'm at work. The moment you start to have a business that's distracting you from your day job, you should seriously consider whether you should remain in your day job. Because if you are developing a habit of, because think about it, I believe in sowing seeds and reaping, right? But I also believe that human behavior, once cultivated, is difficult to change. So you want to think about the behavior and the attitudes that you're cultivating in the process of building and growing your business. But if you've come to a point where your day job is distracting you from your business, then you should leave and run your business.
Okay.
No, I want you to understand something though. The myth that you are suddenly going to make it big because you're making some money today. You see what COVID has done to some businesses? You see, we are custom of playing finite games. We play a basketball game, it has 4 quarters. A football game has 2 halves. We are custom of finite games. Business is an infinite game. So because you're making a lot of money today, doesn't mean that your business is sustainable enough to make a lot of money next week and next month and next year. So you've got to bear that in mind from that perspective. And are you passionate enough about that business that you're going to keep doing it even when things get tough? Because listen, the bank will treat you very differently when you move from an employee to a business owner. So you got to take all that into account as well. Although I've been running my own business for the last 12 years, and I love it. I am unemployable. I say I'm not interested in employment, but it takes a lot to run your business, but you must be passionate enough and your why must be strong enough to keep you going.
Okay.
That's interesting, and that's true. Because also for me as a entrepreneur, because I started my lighting company last year before last, and it has to do. You can't just want money, because if you just want money, you're gonna crumble very fast. But if you keep remembering why you're doing this, and like every time I was going to event and setting up my lights, it was just fulfillment. It felt so much joy. And I really loved what I was doing. And every time I go to event, no matter how tired I am from setting up and picking back the equipment, it was just extremely fulfilling. So it's something that I enjoyed then, even though I was unable to provide that service because COVID. Like it's still something I'm very excited to get back into and develop in even more. So despite the competition that might be there, I still have that drive, and that's very important to remember the why you started at that drive, that passion, drive you. Yeah. Everyone in comments, don't be afraid to ask questions. Make sure you ask some questions before we close this segment. We have some more time. But yeah, we've spoken about debt and how to manage the debt when you're in debt, and also a bit about saving. But when it comes to budgeting, what would you recommend someone who's now starting to make money, how they should manage their money? Because I read something not too long ago, actually. It was saying money management is more important than making money, which is true. Because you could start making, you could get a new job tomorrow and next week, and you start making, triple what you're making now, and then your expenses increase. So you say, okay, I could afford this car. I could afford to pay for this car every month. No, so I can get this car. I can move in because I'm tired of living with my parents. I can move. I can move out, and I can start renting or get a mortgage. But then you start to realize, that you are living to pay off these things every month, and don't have any disposable income. So I've heard of a term a couple of years ago called broke on a higher level, where you have people in bigger houses and bigger cars.
Yeah.
they're figure
Yeah.
living to month, paycheck to paycheck, just trying to keep up with those appearances. Just because they got a higher paying job, they got more expensive taste now, and just living in that circle completely. So how do we get away from that mindset? I know we spoke about it a bit earlier, but how do we actually budget and stick to our budget?
Yeah. You see, money. I come back. I'm going to come back to something I said at the beginning, right? Which is understanding our relationship with money. By the way, do you understand your relationship with money?
It's like for all of us, or
Yep. Do you?
Yeah.
Do you
We have a
understand?
love-hate relationship.
Yeah. Huh?
I'm
We have a
developing that understanding.
love-hate relationship.
Love-hate relationship. Okay. But what's your view of rich people, buddy? What do you think of rich people? What's the words that come to your mind when you think of rich people?
What's that?
Um, Exploitation, Jeff Bezos. No, don't let me call any names. The people we'll just edit that out afterwards. But no, seriously. I think being wealthy requires a work ethic for sure. Like you have to be disciplined. It can't just be like a get rich quick kind of thing. Like I think you're gonna have to take risks for sure. You're gonna have to like acknowledge the fact that even in some of those risks you're taking, like you might be broke. Like I've heard some very wealthy people say that before they got to that point of being wealthy, they were bankrupt like at least 3 times. So I think it requires a great amount of discipline, a considerable work ethic, and I would say just a hint of exploitation, to be honest. But I did so. Karl Marx is in here, to be honest.
So here's the thing about.
I would say that.
So go ahead. Uh-huh.
was gonna answer the question about what you were saying, asking about our relationship with money. For me, I am a very frugal person.
Mm-hmm.
I have myself because of, as you were saying earlier, parents and how I was raised and how I saw at home. And because I grew up very poor, there wasn't a lot of money around. So when we knew that we had to use it wisely, use it carefully, and cherish what we had. So for me now, as an adult, working from my own salary, living my own, I have somehow adopted that money, but I have done it in such a way where I feel as though every little penny I have to hold on to. And I if I have to spend it, it hurts me. It
Yeah.
hurts me to have to spend it, especially when I didn't plan on spending. So I am trying um change that attitude I have about money and trying to cultivate a new attitude, one that's not just going to foster
Right.
me having a better relationship with that one that's going to help me develop wealth that's going to I can pass on to my children if God blesses me with any.
Mm.
So that's wonderful. No, I don't want you to throw everything away, because you see, being frugal is not a bad thing. It's understanding when you have to step away and be creative. You see, sometimes what we do, we throw everything out with baby with the bathwater, not recognizing that in actual fact there's some fantastic principles that you learned, but it also gave you a fear. So you are afraid that you don't want to get back to where you were.
Mm-hmm.
So what you find is, if you're not careful, you can get kind of, So you have to learn that money is a tool.
Mm-hmm.
It's I heard someone say once that money is simply a tool. So if I have no money, and take a if I limousine, it just depends on how much money I have. It's just a tool, right? So think about your relationship with money, and then always think about where you're trying to get to.
Mm-hmm.
Your budget has to look at your current expenses. It has to look at your future, a view of your future, because you want to be planning for the future. You need to be looking at saving about between 6 to 12 months of 12 months of your monthly expenses in a reserve fund, right? So you want to build a reserve fund that, should you lose your job, should things get tough, you have 6 to 12 months of cash that you can actually live without getting crazy, right?
Right.
So your aim, if you think about it, you have a reserve fund, you have investments, you have your own development, and you have your kind of spending income, right? So you want to think about that sort of model and ensure that your budget fits in that model consistently over time.
Okay.
Um,
That's fair.
I'm actually very happy that you just spoke to the reserve fund, because what I found myself doing since I've been teaching for 2 years, every time my money comes into my bank account, I immediately run to the bank, pull off like half of it, and then throw it in the reserve fund. Then I know I have in my mind I have X amount left, but I'm only going to live off of this amount. So then in the event that like an unforeseen expense comes up, I have the rest there that I wasn't touching, and I don't even have to look at my reserve fund.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
very happy that you spoke to that. I saw a question earlier though. Somebody was asking about how to, yeah, that question.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Kyron was asking tips on building discipline when saving.
Discipline comes back to the same conversation about delayed gratification, about your why. Guys,
Yeah.
your why is extremely important. The reason for what you do, if your why is not strong enough, it doesn't matter what you want. We take our why, because and a lot of times we don't clearly understand why we do what we do, right? We say it's important, but in actual fact it's not. Because if something is important enough, we'll find if something is not important, we'll find an excuse. If it's important enough, we'll find a way. I want to think of if something is important enough, we're going to find a way.
It is true.
If it's not, we're going to find an excuse. No, we don't want to call it an excuse, so we say it's a good reason.
Yeah.
Why?
I feel so attacked.
He is charged.
But I think.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
To say, a big why though in these times, in these Corona times, people spend to help them with their mental health.
People what you said? Sorry, again.
Spend.
Sorry.
People what you said?
They spend money for their mental health. Like that gives them joy. Like when they buy something. Okay, I'm talking for myself.
Exactly.
I mean, if you could have left with that.
This is an intervention.
For yourself.
Okay, so like the other day, I made a huge purchase because my hair was just doing the most and depressing me. So I was like, okay, let me just invest and be happy and not make my hair stressy and just get over it.
Hold on. You said invest. That was the word you used. What you were investing in? Sorry, I didn't quite get that.
I'm investing in my hair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So hold on. So Jodine,
Your image.
No, I can't see your hair as an investment. I can't. No, I can't. You may not want me to explain how, but I can.
See, I would like. I would. The thing is, right? We need our hair to look good.
Absolutely. No, so that's what I'm telling you.
My hair was dropping out.
No, you need to address that. That is not good. You need to address that. I am with you 100%. I'm with you.
Oh boy. Oh yeah.
So Jodine, I hope you can return that investment.
Yes, I will try.
Okay, cool. Trey is dying over there. Trey is dying.
Yeah. Trey is gone. To be honest though, there is one fast food chain on this island that I would never regret a cent that I spent on it. Just needed to say that just by the way. Right? Never regret.
Really.
Really. And they're making me very happy right now.
Same.
You would swear these people sponsoring Glenn and Trey.
I wanted to ask.
You should be looking for some sponsorship.
My question has.
Just no.
That's true.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to ask a question related to that's okay. Related to credit, getting credit as a young person. Now, presently, I have a student loan. Unfortunately, education is expensive. So for me, I feel as though that takes a large chunk of my salary every month. And in some ways it is intentional because my plan this year is to pay more on the loan than what is I pay more than the basic amount for two reasons. One, the government of St. Vincent has given us a interest waiver on student loans this year. Hallelujah. We have taken advantage of that. and decided to pay extra on the loan this year, and in some ways, like bite it in a way, because it's less than itself, and it's that is making me feel as though I cannot do other things, and I feel as though it's preventing me from being free as I would like to, although I know that in 5 years or so I would be free as a bird and have that money for myself. But for me now, it is such a burden that sometimes, some days I wonder if I should just the basic mom and whatever the case is. I wanted to ask specifically about getting credit, or how it is important is it for us as young people to develop credit, to get credit, or should we get a credit card as because I have that student loan, I'm thinking, but do I want to have this on my hand? Should I get this on hire purchase? Do I do all these things with the loan and all those things? So that's my question I'm throwing to you.
So the first thing I would say to you, that once you take a loan, you are a slave. So that's the first thing I want you to remember. Now, this is not me saying don't take loans. This is not me saying don't take loans. I'm just saying the borrower is slave to the lender. Just remember that. That's the first principle, right?
Yeah, that is true.
So you want to manage what you take loans for, because the interest on loans are quite high.
Right.
So consumer debt is quite expensive. So you want to manage that. So for example, a credit card, if you can pay it off at the end of the month and you're getting points on it, excellent idea. If you don't have the discipline, that's a significant 20% interest, 17% interest. You want to manage that, right? Now, if you pay 4 additional payments on your loan every year, you will significantly reduce the length of time you have to repay the loan. Now, you said you feel like you're in bondage. You are. But the question to you is that, do you want to remain in bondage for 10 years, or do you want to remain in bondage for 5 years? Can you create a scenario where while you're in bondage, you are doing what is required to get out of bondage, while you manage what you are able to do otherwise? You see, everything we do is based on choices. That's just the reality. We are making decisions and we're making choices. If you choose to pay more on the loan, then you have less money to do other things, but you're going to get out of the loan quicker. If you choose to pay what you need to pay, then you're going to stay in the loan you're going to stay repaying the loan for the number of years that you initially committed, and you're going to be in that place for a longer period of time.
Right.
So it's all about making choices around how what money you take in. So what I would say to you is, rich people think in a particular way. People think in a particular. They said, if I need something, I ask myself, how can I generate income to pay for that thing? So if you think about it, so you're a teacher, right? So if you want to buy a television, instead of saying you want to take a loan, you might ask yourself, what can I do to earn extra income? Let's say the television is $1,500. I'm just picking a figure. What can I do to earn $1,500 to buy a television over the next 3 months, 6 months? Can I give extra classes? Can I prepare a video course on advanced physics and sell it online? What can I do with the skills that I have to generate income to help me pay for that thing that I need, that is not going to earn me income, but just something I'm going to consume? So it's not that you don't get what you want, it's just that you look at how you're going to pay for that additional thing that you want.
That's interesting. Because I mean, like, usually people would just be like, all right, well, let me just take out you said like 1,500. So like some people would just say, all right, let me just take out the 1,500 from this month's salary, and then let me just like scrape till I get paid with my next check. So it's like a living from check to check to check mentality. So that's interesting.
You can each one of you have skills. Each one of you have gifts. The question is, are you using your gifts to the extent that you can?
I think
And if
you're
not,
touching on.
so go ahead.
Sorry to cut you. I was just going to say, I think you're touching on something very pertinent there. And I think the issue is not that people don't have gifts, because as you said, everybody has gifts, but it's that we aren't taught in them. So I think, I'm good at this, but I don't believe I'm good enough to charge people, especially too, because a lot of the people around us, they're like, oh, you're so good at this. But then when you start charging, they're like, can I get it for free? Like they don't want to support
Right.
you.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
So
Even
everybody's for you until there's a price.
Yeah.
exactly. And even you also have to think about in certain areas, like, is there a market for it? So, like, for example, here in Barbados, like the creative arts, I think we have a thriving creative arts community here in Barbados. But as like Janielle said, everybody is like, oh, you're so good at this, you're so good at spoken word and stuff like that. But from the time you're talking money, then everybody's like, I don't know if I want to pay you for that. So, yeah, I get the point that's being made. I just think that sometimes you also have to look at the environment and in terms of what people generally in society see as being value, as something that you can pay someone for, something that you can make a considerable amount of money from.
So I'm leaning a little. I'm leaning a little Trey. I'm leaning a little. Can I tell you a secret?
Yeah.
I want you guys to take your head out of Barbados.
What I was thinking.
Agreed.
I'm serious. I really want you to take. Guys, you guys are living in an era.
Agreed.
You're living in an age that you are privileged to reach in, where you can reach billions of people across the world from this very screen.
That's true.
But we keep limiting ourselves, thinking that we can only sell to people who we know and who know us and who we can feel and touch and see. I want you to take your mind out of Barbados.
Okay.
Please allow me to bounce back a bit, because I really wanted to ask you a question. Something that Rolene said. We all have student loans, right? And we were given, like Rolene said, a waiver on our interest, right? So that gives you the opportunity where either your years of paying the loan would decrease. But I was given some advice, and I would like to know if this advice is the route that you would suggest. The advice was not to rush to pay it back. Just take your time. You don't have to. Okay, I don't need to go on. I can see.
Listen. No, you see. Remember, you're a slave. How long do you want to remain in slavery?
Well,
You have an opportunity to get yourself out of slavery a lot faster than you normally would.
Right?
No, if you don't have a job and you're struggling, it's a different thing. But if your income situation hasn't changed, I would say keep paying.
Gotcha. Thank you very much. I'll take this back to where I got it from, and tell them I got this advice from a financial advisor.
Just tell him, just a man who has a little bit of wisdom.
I definitely will.
No, I feel like that.
What I
That's so
want
true
to.
because even if you're in a
I want to. True. And what I want to add to that, Judy, too, is if you go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, we didn't hear you, Rolene. Your
Oh,
your
I was
response.
going to say that what I wanted to add to what Jodine was saying was to go ahead, Janelle.
Yeah, I think we got like. I think we got like.
Yeah.
yeah because
Yeah, we
yeah
definitely got
because
like.
they're trying to hear you.
Glenn, I think you could just go ahead.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. That just reminded me of one of those moments in movies where you're about to spill the important information, and then you just hear this low noise just blocking it all up. But yeah,
You know,
it's been an hour now, and
Mhm.
yeah. Good night, Sharon. Sharon is saying, so you should do your best and get out of bondage, ASAP, versus lengthening the time yet having more money at your disposal at present. Mm,
I actually
And that's
wanted
what I
to
was going
comment
to
on that
say.
question.
mm.
Go ahead,
Feel free.
Arlene.
Feel free.
And because there's a lag, I'm not because there's a lag. I wanted that's what I was going to comment on as well.
Okay. Okay. I think Sharon saved this.
Yeah.
Thank you,
So
Sharon.
sorry, Roman. So sorry.
Great.
Okay.
Alrighty. Yeah. So it's been an hour, guys, and this is around the time where we look to wrap up. But before we do, just want to ask Ian one more question related to retirement. Now, I know, especially young people who don't really think about retirement, wants to start working, wants to get jobs. Is like, man, that thing can come when it comes. So you don't really think about it or investing in our retirement. And so, why is it important for a young person, especially a young entrepreneur, or even if you're working for someone else, to look at retirement and actually take it seriously, and how soon should they actually pursue that investment?
No, you need to start. Listen, you remember we spoke about the concept of 10%.
Mm,
I would advise any young person. That's a mistake I made when I started working. If I had been consistent at it, I did, and it paid off okay, but I wasn't consistent over the years.
mm,
Right? If you commit, I would suggest commit 10% of your income every single month for the lifetime of your life, your working life. That's one. Insurance is actually a pretty good medium as well in terms of securing long-term savings for your future, right?
mm.
Because the reality is most of us are not disciplined enough to save as we should, right?
Right.
So insurance, there are quite a few insurance premiums and plans that give you long-term cash accumulation over time,
Yeah.
right? So that is probably a good thing to start with. When the younger you are, the cheaper it is, right?
Mm,
So you want to start that as early as you can, because it gives you, obviously, make sure you take something that has cash accumulation over time, where at 60 you get a lump sum payment. That it doesn't seem, it's not a lot when you start, but again, if you keep it going consistently over time, you will see the value. So you want to think about a number of different instruments as far as your pension is concerned. Obviously, if you're working, you have NIS, you have that. If you have a pension plan from an insurance company, that's going to help. And if you have your savings plan, I think if you do that consistently, you will have a decent nest egg for when you retire.
okay. So yeah. Yeah. That retirement plan is necessary because, again, saving and budgeting and all that, that all leads to having a mindset of future planning, right?
Mhm.
So
Correct.
that's one thing I took away from tonight's session. So as we look to close, thank you, Ian, for joining us, sharing all the wisdom. I'm sure we all have learned so much, and we'll put all your advice into practice. We really appreciate it. And if anyone has any more questions to ask Ian, you can ask him. You can hit him up. Ian, let us know where we could reach you. If anyone wants to know more about what you do and what your business, and yeah.
So I am on Coach ENB on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube, and I am ENB at thecilc.com or Ian at coachenb.com.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah. So, yeah, Trey, sorry.
Just a question, Ian. Are you offering your services at this time? If so, you could just.
Am I offering my
services at this time? Just
Sorry,
asking for a friend.
I lost you, Trey. I lost you. Say that again.
Oh no, I was asking if you're offering your services at this time. I'm just asking for a friend. That friend being me.
So yeah, I mean, I run a number of programs. I mean, I have a Goal Achievers Club. That's a group of growth-minded professionals that we meet. I coach. We have once a month on Mondays. Sorry, once a week on Monday evenings. So we go through a process of setting goals, motivation, guidance, coaching. So I have that. If anybody's interested in joining a group of like-minded professionals who are looking to grow and looking to develop.
Nice.
So that's one of my programs that I think, in terms of building a community of people who are like-minded and who are thinking about how they grow and develop themselves.
That's amazing. Thank you.
I hope everyone heard that. That's something you should join if you're interested. So yeah. So Ian, before you go, do you have any quick tips that you want to leave with the viewers?
So what I would leave with you is the principle on ensuring you understand and you're clear on your destination. Where do you want to end up? You want to be clear where you want to be at the end of your journey. And then it will help you determine your direction. You cannot change destination overnight, but you can change direction immediately. So be clear, be very, very clear on where you want to end up. The second thing is understand what I call your philosophy of life. You want to understand your relationship with money, your view of money, the way you figure money relates to you and you relate to money. You want to be clear on your philosophy on how you see money and how you relate to money. That is important, because if you have an incorrect relationship with money, then you're not going to use money wisely, right? So you want to bear that in mind. And always remember that the actions you take are driven by your perspective, are driven by your mindset, are driven by your belief system. So if you want to change what your situation is, you want to change who you are. And to change who you are, you need to change your mindset, your perspective. To change your mindset and your perspective, you need to change your input, which means you need to change what you read, you need to change what you watch, you need to change what you listen to, and you need to change who you hang out with. So I wish you all the best. I just pray God's blessings over you, and I pray that you will focus, understand that there is a gift in you, there's a talent in you, there's an ability in you, there's more in you than you give yourself credit for. If you stay focused, you keep remembering the Creator, He's going to bless you, and you're going to stay focused and do your best. So take care, be blessed, stay safe.
Thank you very much, Ian. Sorry, before you go, we have one more question from Matthew Harmon. Matthew's asking if there are any books and material on financial literacy that you would recommend.
The book that I think I would recommend, I mean, there's a lot of them, right? But The Richest Man in Babylon is probably, that's two. The Richest Man in Babylon and Rich Dad, Poor Dad. These two books, I would say, should be a staple. So The Richest Man in Babylon and Rich Dad, Poor Dad. These are two staples I think you need to have.
Thank you very much. We say good night once again to Ian. Thank you for joining, Ian, and we hope we will see you soon back on Lewwe Chat sometime. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. Yeah. Yes, guys. So now we move on. We actually want to introduce a couple of things to you guys tonight. That was the end of our financial session. I hope you guys learned so much as I have, as Trey has, as Jodine
Yes,
has,
definitely.
Janielle. Right. So thank you very guys for holding on to the end. Right now, actually going to introduce something to you guys called the chat room. So the chat room is going to be exclusively on Instagram, and here we would look at our first segment called Unpopular Opinion. Now, unpopular opinion, we're going to gather is not just going to be us familiar faces. If you want to be a part of the unpopular opinion session, you can send us a DM on Instagram at Let We Create. There we would talk about, if you have any unpopular opinions, you would come and state your opinion. You would have a minute to explain why you have that reasoning, and then the other members of the group will then weigh in on that opinion and share their own opinions, and it will just be a very nice discussion. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I really think that's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're interested, you can give us a shout on Instagram at Lewwe Create. We're looking forward to this a lot.
Mhm.
Trust and believe. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So if you guys are willing to be a part of Unpopular Opinion, it could be anybody. Just hit us up on Instagram. And yeah. And who is hungry this weekend? I know. Listen, we all heard the press conference. This afternoon. A lot of us are very happy. I was happy since 2 weeks ago. Once
Barbershops.
a certain fast food restaurant was open. You understand? So yeah, but no, I could finally get a haircut. Like, I mean,
Yes.
Bless
Oh,
the Lord.
finally,
I'm
right?
happy.
But yeah,
mhm.
let's talk about food. So this weekend, Like Cuisine. So Like Cuisine, their food is fantastic. They have a wide menu. They have pizza, they have wings, they have fries, they have burgers, and guys, trust and believe this food tastes so good. I ain't just saying it because we're promoting it on Lewwe Chat. It tastes
Mhm.
real good. So there's a
Mhm.
contact information 2450946 or 2540869. It's curbside pickup. There's no delivery. Don't worry, it's not too far. It's in the center of the island of St. George. The
Mhm.
directions are very easy to find. So they're open from 2 to 6 p.m. where you can make your collections.
Mhm.
There are combos, pizza and wings combo. Sorry, I'm sorry, but these are the best wings in Barbados, and I am not,
Okay.
I am never going to retract that statement. Right? Best wings,
Mhm.
best
You heard it
pizza.
here first, folks.
That's not just because you understand this food is fantastic. So if you guys hungry this weekend, take a trip down to Likea, but make sure you order early because the food goes very quickly, very quickly. Don't think that you could order tonight and then Saturday you say, "Wait, I think I want some more wings," and then call and say, "I want more." It's not gonna work. Trust and believe. I've tried it. It's not gonna work. So make sure you make your orders early. And yeah, so that's all we have for you guys tonight. Again, thank you for joining. Thank you for being loyal to Lewwe Chat. Thank you. Great session. Thank you. Thank you. Seriously,
Ah,
this is very interesting. Looking forward to all the unpopular opinions. I listen. I
yeah.
made one last week, and apparently it was not unpopular. Apparently it was not unpopular, but it's good to see that I have some friends, right? So that's cool.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
so yeah.
Uh-huh.
So thank you everyone for joining. We're going to say good night. I'm just going to allow the team to say good night to everyone as well. So yeah.
We should sing our good nights.
I don't think I'm capable of saying our good night, but you guys can go ahead. You guys can
Yeah.
go right ahead. It's
Good
fine.
night,
It's fine with
everyone.
me.
Hopefully by next week's episode, I will have a haircut. I apologize for the state, but you just understand it's been a very difficult time for all of us. But no, seriously, good night, everyone. I hope you guys have a great week, and thank you for continuing to support Levy Chat.
Yes, guys. Good night. Hope you all are doing well. Hope you all are drinking your water and exercising and keeping fit and trying to be the best you can during this time.
Yeah,
Sure.
for sure.
Definitely. Definitely. Good night, everybody. Continue to be safe. As someone keeps saying to me, be kind to yourselves and be kind to
Mhm.
each other. And spend your money wisely.
Yes.
Yeah,
Have a
definitely.
good night, everybody.
Good Good night, everybody. I guess I'll close with what I tell my children, my students. You are smart, you are important, you are powerful, you are a world changer. And
No.
as we were talking about finances today, if any of you have disposable funds, I am always here with my hands open, so
Oh,
feel free
come
to
on.
just
Okay, good night.
bless me. Gotta
Oh,
exploit to get those funds, right, Trey?
Like with me, I am Switzerland here. I'm
boy. Yeah.
I'm out.
Oh, well, okay.
No, you know.
Oh boy. Okay, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for joining us again tonight. We'll be back next week on Lewwe Chat. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, comment, and share with your friends. Remember, you can always go back and rewatch it. So share it with everybody who's missed it tonight. Go back and rewatch it and get those views up. And remember, Unpopular Opinion is coming. Message us. We are interested in your opinions. Yeah. So good night, everybody. Be safe, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
All right.